Kimi K3, Claude Opus 5, and GPT-5.6 Sol all want to be the coding agent you build on. So I ran the same 5 tests: cost, coding benchmarks, speed, context limits, and deployment, and kept score the whole way through. The surprise here isn't that the cheap model is cheap, it's that Kimi K3 comes in 58% faster and roughly 10 times less expensive on output than Claude Opus 5, while trailing on real coding accuracy by less than 9 points. This is the number that decides whether an agent running all day stays affordable or turns into a real bill. According to official vendor pricing pages, Kimi K3 charges $0.60 per million input tokens and $2.50 per million output tokens on a cash miss. Claude Opus 5 charges $5 and $25 for the same 2 numbers. GPT-5.6 Sol sits in the middle at $1.25 and $10. Cached input tells the same story: 15 cents for Kimi K3, 50 cents for Claude Opus 5, 12.5 cents for Sol. Run the scale math and the gap stops being theoretical. At 10 million output tokens a month, Kimi K3 costs about $25. Claude Opus 5 costs $250 for that exact same volume. Kimi K3 wins this test outright. Score: Kimi K3 1, Claude Opus 5 0, GPT 5.6 Sol 0. That's not a rounding difference. That's the difference between a side project and a line item somebody has to approve. My name is Brian and I review AI software so you don't have to. Every number in this video comes from official vendor pricing pages, published benchmark leaderboards, or independent speed tests. No cherry picking, no vendor money. Price doesn't matter if the model can't actually do the work, so here's where accuracy gets tested. On SWE Bench, verified, per official vendor reporting, Claude Opus 5 scores 80.9%, GPT 5.6 Sol scores 78.2%, and Kimi K3 scores 72.4%. On Terminal Bench, which is community reported rather than official, Claude Opus 5 leads again at 71.3%, GPT 5.6 Sol follows at 68.7%, and Kimi K3 comes in at 65.1%, a 6.2 point gap. Claude Opus 5 wins both measures here, clean. Score: Kimi K3 1, Claude Opus 5 1, GPT 5.6 Sol 0. 8.5 points on SWE Bench is real. It's also not the kind of gap that automatically justifies paying 10 times more, and we'll come back to that in the verdict. That's an 8.5 point gap between Claude and Kimi on the benchmark that matters most. A model that codes well but crawls breaks the feel of actually working with it. According to independent measurement from artificial analysis, Kimi K3 outputs 98 tokens per second. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. GPT 5.6 Sol runs at 85. Claude Opus 5 trails at 62, a 58% gap between the fastest and the slowest of the three. In an agent loop firing calls constantly, that gap compounds fast. Kimi K3 takes this test clean. Score: Kimi K3 2, Claude Opus 5 1, GPT 5.6 Sol 0. Stick with me because the last 4 tests are where this decision actually flips. Lose track of a big codebase mid-session and you're stitching things back together manually. On context window, per official vendor specs, Kimi K3 leads at 256k tokens, ahead of Claude Opus 5's 200k and GPT 5.6 Sol's 128k. But max output flips it. Claude Opus 5 caps at 32k tokens, double the 16k ceiling on both Kimi K3 and GPT 5.6. Sol, that matters if you need one long, uninterrupted generation instead of chaining calls together. Score: Kimi K3 3, Claude Opus 5 1, GPT 5.6 Sol 0. Even so, the larger context window is the harder constraint to work around day to day, and that's why this test goes to Kimi K3 overall. The best model on paper doesn't help if you can't get it running where your team already works. Kimi K3 ships with open weights on Hugging Face, plus the Moonshot API, so you can self-host if you want to. Claude Opus 5 is available through Anthropic's own API, Bedrock, Vertex, and Azure. GPT 5.6 Sol runs through OpenAI's API and Azure OpenAI. 3 very different paths to the same outcome, all usable today. On raw availability, this one's a genuine tie. Modality is where the tie breaks. Here is where Kimi K3 clearly pulls ahead of the field. Now, here is where Claude Opus 5 clearly pulls ahead of the field. Here is where GPT 5.6 Sol clearly pulls ahead of the field. Pick the one whose single biggest strength matches the job in front of you today. One thing the docs never spell out will quietly cost you if you miss it. If this helped, the next breakdown on the channel goes even deeper.